Like everyone said, Addison is going through a lot right now. I cannot even imagine getting into a headspace like this. So, what do you think is at the forefront of her mind?
Oh God. I mean, I think it's just you got to figure out who you want to be, even in situations you might have never expected. And I think she just has gotten to the point, especially by the end of episode 9, where she's just going, you know what? I got to take control of Addison's life, which really works for me. Like that works for Caitlin very much so. And it launches us into the back half of a season where all of a sudden, Ben just instead of Addison just absorbing what Ben is deciding and going through, he starts to have to deal a little bit more with what is going on for her. And it's really cool. It added a completely different dynamic to her character.
Well, how do you feel about Addison still being Ben's hologram? Do you think it's helping this friendship that they want to build, or is it potentially maybe harming it?
I think it's helping. I think they're doing the thing, which is that can we still do this? Can we still do the thing where I can be there for you and I can watch you deal with life and that's okay. And I think they're trying to figure out how it's going. Um Episode 8, which I liked, was like some moments were very like sunk in, and then some were like, "Ooh, I don't know how to deal with this." But if anyone's going to have a future, you have to learn how to deal with it, right? So the writers gave the characters enough time to try and figure that out, which I thought was really fun. And it changes the trajectory of where the rest of the season goes.
I thought that Hannah also made a very interesting point in this episode when she was telling Ben, hey, maybe you can love two people at once. So I'm curious on what your opinion of that is when it comes to Ben and Addison's relationship and, the relationships with their current love interest.
Yeah, I think Addison probably didn't agree with that for a while until she had to start contending with it, right? Because there's different types of love. There's romantic love, there's committed love, there's friendship based love, and I think we saw Addison and Ben's relationship transition to from what it was to something else. And Hannah taking a different position in his life. And then I think Addison has to watch reality happen and be like, oh, yeah, maybe you can.
Yeah, well, it took Addison obviously years to get over Ben, and I'm not completely sure what the timeline is, but I think it's been like maybe a couple of weeks that Ben has known Hannah, correct? Yeah. So how do you think that makes Addison feel kind of watching that play out in such a short amount of time?
I think it never felt great. It never, and I remember it never feeling great from the beginning. Um, like while playing it, just because like there's something about it that feels like very replaced. Um, but then I think, like I said, like as the relationship starts to shift, all of a sudden there's some space for it, and you can take a little space back and just realize like how many times did I throw myself into something that was because if I didn't, I'd just fall apart. Like there's sometimes things happen and you just have to live the life that's right in front of you, like Magic said in episode 9. So
Well, we also have to talk about that proposal and that engagement. Do you think Addison confronting Tom about the ring and choosing that time to do it has anything to do with Ben potentially coming home, or are these just two completely independent things?
I think just like how Ben met Hannah and that immediately became a thing, I feel like there's some reflection there, right? Like you make the decision in front of you because to not do it is very scary and it leaves too many things open.
Well, were you surprised when you found out that they were going to get engaged, or is this where you thought it was naturally going to go?
No, I was surprised. I texted the writers. I was like, guys, And they were like, yeah, no, no, no. And then they kind of told me kind of how it was, where it was all going. And I was like, oh, okay. I see, I see, I see. But again, what my favorite part about it was is in that moment, in the moment where she brings it up, not at like in a romantic area or like, hey, babe, like we need to talk about a thing. She had her decision before she brought it up. She did. You know what I mean? Like she knew what was probably going to happen, even in that moment or not. And so all of a sudden we start seeing Addison drive the ship, drive her own version of the ship. And instead of reacting to Ben and what he's doing and what's happening, she's like, okay, that might happen, that might not happen. I don't know, but it's time for me to make a decision about my life. And all of a sudden we start seeing her take just a lot more ownership of her life's direction, which is really cool.
Awesome. Well, lastly, is there anything you can tease about the upcoming episodes?
It's an amazing ride. We had to pump an 18 episode season into 13 episodes, so like it moves, which is incredibly fun to play because you have to watch Addison make decisions every single moment. And at the end of season, like it took to the end of the first episode of season 2 to see how different season 2 was going to be from season 1. But at the end of season 2, you're going to see how different season 3 is going to be.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin. It was so great to chat with you.
Thank you.